Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
أحفظ وبارك بلدنا هذا كينيا من كل شؤم ومكروه. يا الله أحفظ واحرس رئيسنا الدكتور ويليام ساموي روتو وأهله، وكن معه وأعنه في قيادة البلاد بما فيه مصلحة العباد والبلاد. اللهم ساعد وأعن قادتنا الوطنيين في كل مكان. اللهم متعنا بالأمن والأمان، وخاصة في هذه المنطقة، واجعل هذا الاجتماع اجتماعا مباركا وموفقا. يا الله وحفاظي نوباركي injiyetu ya Kenya. Ya Allah ulinde kutoka kwa shari na bala chochote. Ya Allah uhifadhi na umulinde Rais wetu Dr. William Samoei Ruto na familia yake kwa uongozi bora na nchi yetu ya Kenya. Ya Allah usaidie na ukue upande wa viongozi wetu mbalimbali wa kitaifa na viongozi wa county. Ya Allah tusaidie tupate amani na umoja hasa kwa hii region, na ubariki kwa mkutano huu. Amin ya Rabbi ya Karim.
Karibu for our Christian prayer.
Na tuombe. Katika jina la Yesu Kristo nasongea mbele zako Mwenyezi Mungu, na muombea rais wetu Dr. William Samoei Ruto pamoja na jamii yake. Mungu ukampatie na neema yako, hekima yako, fadhili zako na afya njema, akaiongoze nchi yetu kwa nguvu na uweza wako. Na waombea viongozi wote katika serikali ya kitaifa na serikali za jimbo, ukawape afya njema pamoja na jamii zao. Mwenyezi Mungu, wafanyikazi wote wa taifa letu na waombea amani yako na afya njema. Naomba kwa ajili ya mkutano wa leo, Mungu kaufanikishe katika jina la Yesu Kristo. Naombea amani katika nchi yetu na pia kaunti ya Wajir, Mandera na Garissa. Mungu wetu ukatamalaki na kutawala, tuwe na amani na usalama na upendo. Kwa jina la Yesu Kristo tunaomba na kuamini. Amen.
Thank you very much. So as we get settled, I will request our communication team to play a recap video over what transpired yesterday. Kindly, you can
We must put our past behind us and look to the future. Because our constitution says we are a unitary state with two systems of government, dependent and interdependent. So yale ya nyuma tuyaache, tuangalie mbele.
Usually I say, in the Kenya where there is water, there is no land left. In the Kenya where there is land, there is no water. So just get water to the Kenya that has land, and we will not have to import food.
we are going to be facing droughts every 2, 3, 4 years. The problem is, what are we doing about it? Do our cows know that there is going to be drought? They don't. So the cow is waiting for you to make a plan. We need to push for more investments, especially water in our area. Because without water, we do not have fodder.
We constitute 75% of the landmass of this country. It cannot be business as usual. We cannot continue lamenting and crying foul. It's a high time we take action and speak for ourselves, and not just speak but act. Wafugaji, shida yetu ni moja, na kama tuwezi wekwa pamoja na kitu kingine chochote, washa tabu yetu ituunganishe.
If we look at the other side of the country, when there is glut production of food, maize, you have a GNT, I mean guaranteed minimum. The coffee have every 5 or 10 years, the coffee farmers are being given money, so at least to compensate for their losses. The miraa of all things, which is a narcotic drug, is given the other day when somebody failed to pay the miraa, and UK when they banned it, they were given 1 billion shillings. There is no one time they get 1 billion shillings to compensate for the livestock farmers.
That when people are talking about 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, where is your voice in terms of 1 kilometer, 1 shilling?
We are 102 members of both Senate and the National Assembly. I am not a seaman, but if you are rowing a boat, you must row at the same time, in the same direction, with almost the same energy. Until the pastoralists learn to row in the same rhythm and in the same direction, your faith, your spade, your complaints will continue to be the same.
PPG is the largest caucus in Parliament. We are the lawmakers. And I just want to ask us of one thing. What is this that that we have not done to unlock the potential of pastoralism? We are here today. We should come up with policies that actually foster the growth of our livestock.
This caucus is a caucus of 15 counties cutting across Kenya, especially the pastoralist counties, and we are united to ensure that we unlock the potential of this region.
And I want to urge the leaders from other parts of the country to travel the northern region. I know many of you are the first timers in Wajir County. And we tend to travel all over the world visiting cities, but we fail to visit and appreciate the beautiful country and counties we have in this country.
Change has to come, and that change has to come now. They can't wait anymore for us to get our act together. It is up to us as leaders and those who are here. We can make that difference. I was here 14 years ago, and Wajir was a backyard. Now it is a town one can be proud of.
But I want to ask the pastoralist parliamentary group, you have numbers, 106, but what have you been doing with those numbers? That is a question that we should ask them, including him.
25 years ago, when you talked about pastoral economy in Kenya, people looked like you had some strange things. But now, the fact that we are here, we are talking about the potential of the pastoral economy, tells us that we have moved some distance.
We need to pull up our socks, and we can do better, given our numerical numbers in the parliament, given the unity that we deserve, and many other things. Let me therefore say that this is indeed a moment that we need to make use of, and I hope the discussions and the recommendations to be made in the next 2 days will indeed be a game changer for our region as far as pastoralism is concerned. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For those who are not party to the conversation that took place, thank you very much, colleagues from the comms team, for taking us through the proceedings of what took place the last 2 days. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be seated. Let's be seated, please. Excellencies, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting off our program. Let's be seated, please. So for the next session, we'd like to welcome and appreciate the host of this summit. That is the school that is hosting us, Wajir Girls High School. We want to appreciate the role of the principal, Madam Rahma Hassan, who is the principal of the school. We would also want to appreciate the deputy principal of the school, Mr. Daoud. And for us, as we are privileged to sit here today, we want to recognize that they have a very powerful entertainment team that is coming over the stage. They'll be privileged to entertain us, but also most importantly, having a moment to entertain our president once he arrives. So I would like to welcome the team for this entertainment session. Karibuni sana.
Rapsule
Wajir Girls Entertainment team, I will ask you to take. Okay. Please proceed. Okay. Tuwapongeze kwa makofi wanapoondoka uwanjani hawa Wajir Girls Entertainment Group. Tuwapongeze kwa makofi wasichana wa Wajir Girls Secondary School wanapoondoka uwanjani. Wapongeze kwa makofi tafadhali. Thank you very much. Excellencies, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, would like to proceed with our program, and our next session will be to have a recap of what transpired yesterday. That session will be moderated by Honorable Memusi, a member of parliament from Kajiado Central. Bwana Memusi, Honorable, you can come over. We are managing time very well, so kindly let's be settled. This will be one of the crucial sessions that brings the conversation of what we've had so far into a single opportunity to have a declaration, what will be presented to the President today. So please follow the conversation carefully, and I would want to hand it over to our able moderator, Honorable Memusi. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam. Very good morning to everyone. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. My duty here today is to simply call out the leaders of yesterday's thematic groups. You remember after lunch we had a breakout where different thematic groups went to deliberate on different areas, and we would like to be informed as plenary what transpired in those thematic groups. So my duty here is just to call out those leaders of the different thematic groups, and I would want to urge them, as I call you out, kindly give us a summary of what transpired in your thematic groups. So I will start with the Honorable Major Deko. Major Deko? He's not there? Okay. Honorable Adan Haji. Honorable Adan Haji led the pastoralism and livestock sector development. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa. Come and give us 3 minutes recap of what transpired in your thematic group.
Can they project?
Communication, are you able to project that?
Project the livestock setup. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you are aware, livestock is the backbone of our economy in this region. From the time immemorial, we are livestock keepers, and our best land use now is pastoralism. That is keeping our livestock, moving with them from one place to another. We have not yet got any other better alternative land use. Maybe by the time we get oils, like the Arab world, which we think is there down somewhere there, or by the time we get very valuable minerals, we may change our land use. But for now, we have no option but to make sure that we keep our animals. Of course, we have serious challenges. Some of the challenges are, the most important one is the climate change. which is affecting our livestock production very seriously. After serious deliberations and discussions, we have come up with a few bullet points which we think is critical for pastoralism and livestock development activities. These are, this is not what I'm looking for. No, this is not what I'm looking for. We have come up with a few priorities. The first priority is the operationalization of the Livestock Board. As most of you are aware, some times back, the former president assented to a Livestock Board, which later went into Parliament, in the 12th Parliament. It died with the Parliament. It came to, the 11th Parliament initially. And then it came to 12th Parliament. We at the National Assembly passed it with a lot of enthusiasm. It went to Senate and it died there again. But what we are saying is that since it has already been assented to the President, then today what we want is the President to look around, appoint a chairman, and then the minister appoints the board of directors, and we operationalize the board. Yeah. So let them do it. You know, I'm not always having the machine here.
It's okay, you can play.
Okay. Okay, you can play and okay, quick please. Time is not with us. So that is the most important thing. The second very important thing is a center of excellence for camel development. As you know, with the climate change, camel is becoming the priority animal in the ASAL areas as a whole. Because of climate change, cattle keeping is becoming very difficult, and therefore camel is becoming the priority animal. But every year we hear there are mysterious diseases of camels. Researchers have not done much to know what the diseases are, which are mysterious camel diseases, and how it can be tackled or how it can be treated or vaccinated. So we want the government to fund a camel excellence center where we can research on various issues of camels and make sure that the camel is given the attention that it requires. The third thing is establishment of livestock cooperatives. The pastoralists have been trying to survive individually on their own. Time has come now. We want to establish pastoralist cooperative systems. Pastoral livestock cooperative is not the coffee cooperative, is not the tea cooperative. It is pastoral livestock cooperative system, and we want the government to give us the initial seed money to start up. And you can see the number of cooperatives we are trying to establish are very many. So we want the government to give us the seed money. The third thing is establishment of the ASAL department within the office of the president. As you are aware, currently, at some times back, we had the Ministry of Northern when Honorable Ilmi was the minister, and we did a stride. But later on, we had to retrograde. And currently, the ASAL department is somewhere in some ministries. We want that ASAL department to move to the office of the president, so that it can get the attention it's required in terms of supporting finance, political goodwill, and all other aspects of it. Finally, as I said yesterday and I'll repeat today, those of you who have lived a little long like me, they know that all the rich people from northern Kenya started their businesses with hides and skins. Sheikh Hussein, is that correct? Am I right? Yeah, I've been told here, Haj Abdullah knows that. But somehow, somewhere, again we lost that sale of hides and skins. To an extent today, we slaughter animals and throw away the hides and skins. So we want to establish tanneries, we want to establish hides and skins, we want to start value addition for our hides and skins. Thank you so much.
I think I'm done.
That's it? Let's appreciate Mheshimiwa Haji. I've given him a lot of time, but I think you have gotten the brief of that very important thematic area. We're going to go back to Major Deko, Mheshimiwa, and Maclap, get ready. I can see Lekuton is not there, so Maclap, get ready.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning to everyone here. Yesterday, we had a very fruitful discussion on the issue of security. And what came out of that conversation that we had was the fact that all this we are discussing here in these forums, in any engagement on northern Kenya, the main issue that we should actually be discussing and coming up with proper solutions is the issue of security. No development can happen in our region if we don't have security in place and peace in place. So we looked at it this way. In this region of northern Kenya, that is, and mainly the pastoralist communities are divided into two regions. That is the North Rift, or the northern part of the country, and northeastern part of the country where we are today. We have different challenges, and all of them we cannot find solutions to the same, in the same way. The dynamics are different, and therefore we have looked at it this way. In Northern Rift, the issues of cattle wrestling, inter-clan fights, but in northern Kenya, the situation is a bit different. In the fact is a bit different. Since independence, this region of northern Kenya faced the issue of shifter wars, and we also face now we are facing another challenge of Al-Shabaab, and these areas need to be looked afresh. Many of our projects that are happening here in this region, they are unable to move, they are stalling as a result of lack of security in this region. So we have security challenges as a result of cross-border security incursions, and then the local normal inter-clan issues, which we can always sort out, and we have a mechanism of handling them. Therefore, in this region, we have lagged behind, and it is very clear that we have security challenges. Now, who are supposed to come up with these solutions? It cannot be the responsibility of the government alone. We have so much boots on the ground in terms of security officers and agencies, but we have the same challenges year in, year out. So the responsibility of security for us in this region is upon us as people and as community of these regions. We must take the first initiative. And again, we have very good examples of something that has worked. While we have security challenges, there are areas, pockets that many actors have played, and now we see some semblances of peace, especially in North Rift, areas like Turkana. The county government of Turkana has contributed a lot on that. What role the county governments can play in addressing the challenges we have in security is very important. So as communities of this region, do not expect boots and guns to be the solution to our problem. We must come up with those solutions. Far too long, the issue we have been discussing is peace for development. We want to change that conversation, and that information came out as a result of the discussion we had yesterday. That from now on in these regions of northern Kenya and northeastern Kenya, we must now be discussing, and the conversation should change to development for peace. We need to have development for us to get peace. We need to have development for us to get peace. Initially it was, we needed peace to get development. Many of our projects, mainly funded by World Bank and governments, are stalling as a result of, and the actors are us. The people who are mainly actors in this insecurity are us of this community. So the challenge is on us, the people of the region, the ASALs, the pastoralists, to come and sit down as brothers and sisters in this country and see the way forward for our region, for us to achieve maximum benefits from the government. Service delivery to our region is being affected. Our children are not going to school as a result of lack of teachers because of insecurity in our region. It is upon us as leaders and as people who make an opinion leaders who make decisions on behalf of our people. Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate Mheshimiwa. He has given a very good recap without even looking at the summary of what they are discussed. As Mheshimiwa Lekuton and Mheshimiwa Le prepare, let's welcome Mheshimiwa Maklab. Mheshimiwa Maklab, karibu. You are leading infrastructure. Karibu.
Good morning, good people. I am Sheikh Maklab, Member of Parliament from Baringo North. First and foremost, I want to bring your attention, just like yesterday, that the BBG group, the BBG leadership is not about Garissa, Wajir, and Mandera. It is about the pastoral communities of Kenya, including Narok, Kajiado, Baringo, West Pokot, Keo-Marakwet, Turkana, and all of us as one people that comprise around 109 members of parliament, both in the Senate and the National Assembly. My conversation with good people was about infrastructure. When we say infrastructure, it's not only roads. Infrastructure for road network, infrastructure for transport, infrastructure for water, infrastructure for electricity. Good people, since God created the world and the earth, here in Wajir has never seen a power line entering this particular place to light up this country. Are we truly both in Kenya? The answer is no. If parts of Kenya have enjoyed electricity for more than now 60 years after independence, because the colonial masters ruled Kenya for 78 years, but Kenyans ruled Kenya for now 61 years. But Wajir here doesn't have power. So we resolved as a people that to bring electricity connectivity to this place as soon as possible is a nightmare, especially when the government doesn't have resources, because it will cost more than 1 trillion shillings. So the committee, the people that were resolved that for Northern Kenya specifically, our slogan shall be 1 gigawatt, 1 people, 1 power for Northern Kenya. We want to use the green energy, the solar mini grids, just the one like the one in Garissa. We build several mini grids. In fact, all the money for HEREC for Northern Kenya be given out for development of solar power, establishment of solar power as mini grids in every town in Northern Kenya, and you'll have power as soon as possible, and it is clean energy, and it will change this particular place, and you will have power as soon as possible. So 1 gigawatts. 1 gigawatt is the same as 300 megawatts of power only. And it will serve all the way to Marsabit, the biggest county in Kenya, all the way to Turkana. So let us go green, let us go solar, let us build a mini grid in every town in the northern Kenya, and you will change the dynamics of power and electricity in this area. Secondly, after we invite also investors, including you, Dego, and my brother here, Dido Razo. Invest in solar and sell. Wamama wapom cooperative ya kuuza solar energy na kuuza katika sehemu hii, and you will make money. Instead of looking for cows to sell just a small megabyte of power, and you will have money and you will have income, and you will transform your economy from cows to power, like that one. Secondly, So that is a resolution, that is a quick win. When you ask the president of going green, using the Green Climate Fund, you will get that money without any stress because you have donor funds, you have grants, and you don't have loans, and you will change Kenya. Secondly, the Livestock project. The Livestock project needs to be completed from Lamu all the way to Juba, to the other side, and Ethiopia. Why? The Livestock is not only about the black top, the lamb. It's about pipeline for oil in Turkana. It is about water line, electricity line, and so many other things. The Livestock project was reinforced by Gibagi's government that every financial year there shall be 10 billion to develop Livestock. So Livestock should not be missing resources. Livestock will open up the northern Kenya and the northern frontier so that it will open up for development across. So members of parliament, the ball is on our side. Let's go to parliament, use our strength, get a minister, let us ensure the 10 billion that was earmarked is enough to light up this country. So that is a decision that we must revive the vision and the mission of the Livestock project in Kenya once and for all, and we complete. Thirdly, the road infrastructure. Currently, there is a road funded by World Bank to around 740 African Development Bank annuity from Isholo all the way to Modogashi, all the way to the corner point 1 in Mandera. So we said there is two sections of this road. In between Modogashi, there is some sections that were funded under annuity. We resolved and want to tell the president that that annuity program must stop and reroute the money and build these roads using any other funding other than annuity, because it is causing a lot of problems to the people of northern Kenya. That will solve your problem, because no matter how much tarmac you will have from here to Garissa, no matter how much tarmac to the, but these three sections, if it is not corrected, nothing will happen in this particular region. So we want to pull out the annuity and replace with proper funding from government. 3, we say there is 4 additional roads that we want to ensure that it will get funding as we move along. 1, that the road that connects from Liboi all the way to some place that I have forgotten their name here, be funded. And another road from Mandera all the way to Moyale be connected as one of the major roads that will open up Kenya. The road that begins from Bokot, what is called Teati, all the way to Kapedo, all the way to the other side called Nadabal in southern Sudan, through Lokori. And finally, water. We say the government had promised several times about connecting water to Abaswain. We want to ensure that the reservoirs and which are in this region be actually invested through what is called a water Marshall Plan for northern Kenya and Asal counties, so that we can be able to transform this particular region. Those are the 4 things. And think about a railway line from all the way from Mandera connecting to Nairobi, so that to evacuate goods and services in this particular region. With those very many remarks, ladies and gentlemen, we want to run away with only 2-3 things that will change Kenya. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Let's again appreciate Mheshimiwa Maklap. I don't know if he's been accepted as a sheikh, but he was handling a very important thematic group. Infrastructure is one of our biggest problems in these areas, so I gave him a lot of time. We'll now go to Mheshimiwa Leah Sankaire, the women rep for Kajiado County. She was handling gender, youth, and emerging social issues. This is also a very important thematic group. Youth and women are a very important component in pastoralism. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Thank you so much, Honorable Memuse Kanchori, MP from Kajiado Central, and all members present. I will be very brief. We had a very interactive session yesterday on gender, youth, and emerging social issues in regards to technology. That was a very interactive issue, and I want to thank the members who actually participated. I can see that most of them are here with us. And I just want to go through it. 1 minute. Sorry. This is called technology. And I'm just also acquainting myself with it. You see how technology can be complicated. Thank you very much. This is a summary from our thematic group and gender, youth, and emerging social issues in technology. Number 1, we discussed on the legal policy and framework on gender and inclusion is adequate, but we actually need to the enforcement of the legal provisions because it's key across all sectors, including the 2/3 gender role. We know that we have been fighting as a country for the 2/3 gender role on inclusion, and specifically this one is actually affecting the pastoral communities. When you look at leadership spaces, I can confidently say that we have not reached that, and probably we as the pastoralist communities have been contributing that greatly as for the country for not actually reaching the 2/3 gender role. When you look at our pastoral communities, when you look at elective positions, probably the only elective positions that we are electing women is the women representative position. Anytime women want to elevate to other positions, they are actually told to reserve the other seats for the men. And I think that's a serious gap that we need to address as leaders and as pastoralist communities. We need to look into allowing women, or actually supporting women, to get into the leadership positions and get into the leadership space through other elective positions apart from the women representative positions. We looked at all our counties, and probably only one or two women are actually elected in any other positions apart from the leadership, apart from the women representative position. So that's a gap that we also need to address as pastoralist communities. Let us embrace the leadership of women. There are people that can lead, and those that have been given an opportunity have led by example, and it's good that we emulate into the rest of the positions. I know that my MP is looking at me, but Mheshimiwa Memusi, next time we have a woman contesting in Kajiado Central, please allow them to compete fairly and don't look at them as a woman, look at them as a leader that can actually represent this country. It's a great issue that we have, but we will keep having the conversation, and we are bringing on board the he for she's champions, people that can champion for the same, because we know as women we cannot do it alone, but we call upon he for she's to support us in this great agenda. Access to services, number 2 is access to services and prohibitive cost related to the birth certificate. This issue came out very strongly, that these people are being discriminated against the rest of the Kenyans. Because when you do an application for the birth certificate or application for your ID, you have to go through a vetting process. And I don't think that is the same case in the rest of the pastoral counties. We felt that it's a great discrimination to the women and children of this northern region, and we ask that this vetting is removed completely. These people have to go through the chief, have to go through the county commissioner, have to go through the regional commissioner for their papers to be vetted, for them to be able to present to the registrar for approval. And some of them have to travel for thousands and thousands of kilometers, and only to find that the chief is not around. They go back and come back again, and you know these people also have no resources. And so we felt that in our submission, we said that call for complete abolition of vetting and equal treatment, and that will be a call for equity from identification to all issues affecting pastoral communities. We also said that invest in security apparatus and remove the security burden from the community. It looks like the security burden has been put on the citizens of northern Kenya, and especially the women and the children, because they are vetted based on security. We have to remove the burden of security from the citizens and not them suffer for the things that are happening in northern Kenya. For example, if you're vetting them, it's like you're doubting their origin, you're doubting their security status, And so we ask the government to invest on security apparatus and remove that burden from the citizens. Because it's true we can do community policing, but we cannot put the burden of security on the citizens and subject them to vetting while the rest of the country is not being vetted when they want to receive the SIM. So that's a submission that we want the government to look into, that this issue is actually, this burden is removed from the citizens. Development and humanitarian action should shift towards investment in longer-term solutions. Collaboration with counties in climate resilience hubs, where all solutions are locally driven and context-specified. We also said we should start having an approach where we look at our issues from an internal context. For example, we should have pastoralists driving their own agendas on pastoralism and for inclusion, because I believe it is us who knows where the shoe is pinching, and so it's us who can devise these policies that are going to help us going forward. We also said that the programs should rely on evidence, on differentiated efforts, including gender. We say that anytime we want to do a project, we have to rely on evidence, and evidence calls for data, and actually data that has been provided, and we have a lot of data out there. So let us base our projects on the evidence of data so that we can see its sustainability and see how we are going to achieve the outcomes through relying on evidence. We also said leveraging on technology, work with different sectors to support connectivity and bridge the digital divide in enhancing pastoral production. We are looking into how we can leverage on technology, work with different sectors. We have the Konza City technology, and we're just looking into how we can actually bridge the gap. Because there is, yes, technology, but when you look at pastoral counties, how many of them can actually access funds, how many of them can access data? And we're just thinking, as much as we want to empower the youth through technology, we also need to see how we can bridge that gap, because most of them cannot actually access this. And we call upon actors to make sure that we bridge this. Improving human capital and basic services, expand mobile education. I'll just name them for the interest of time. Strengthen healthcare infrastructure, mitigate climate impact, increase education funding, and seek for collaboration. We also say that upon coming up with projects and how we can have gender inclusion, it's true that as pastoral communities and as women from the pastoral communities, most of the time we don't own property, because the cow belongs to the man, the land belongs to the man, and even the wife herself belongs to the men. But how can we make things turn around for us and make economic gains? We say by inception of small cottage industries for processing of milk, processing of hides and skins, that can actually help the women get their own money and get their own food. Instead of investing a lot on food, on relief food, let us invest into small cottages that women can work on, improve their food security by actually doing value addition to milk and milk products, hides and skins. And so when the cows die, we will no longer see as a loss, because we will use the hides and skins to process leather, and that is how we are going to feed our people during drought. Thank you very much. I am pleased to be here, and I look forward to many more of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Let's appreciate the women rep for Kajiado again. Asanteni sana, mama wa nguvu huyo. We're going to go now to Honorable Professor Guyo. Professor, are you around? Oh, karibu Mheshimiwa. Let's appreciate Mheshimiwa as he comes. They were looking at improving human capital and basic services. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Good morning. I think I don't want to, doesn't matter what is here, but we are looking at health and education as a subsector, and as they are thinking about what to put here, the first question I asked our team yesterday was to Google for maternal mortality ratio, the number of women who die during childbirth in these pastoral communities. And if I remember what we did, was that the maternal mortality in Mandera was 3,795, Turkana is 1,683, and Wajir is 1,594. The national maternal mortality ratio stands at about 400, actually 300 something. So, and when there's no health care at all, there's no intervention, the maternal mortality is said to be natural maternal mortality, which stands at 1,500. So we are doing more harm than good. Health is devolved, and we have every county is supposed to do something on their own. When it comes to education, our illiteracy level in the community stands at about 77%. And children out of school is also a similar number. Our request that we wanted to pass the officials of PPG, that we want them to say to the president, if there's anything that we can gain out of this conference, is there is something called NACONEC, National Council on Nomadic Education. If NACONEC comes as stand-alone saga under the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education, if we achieve that one, we'll have achieved a lot. And we were saying, please, let's campaign. It will look after our education, it will look our schools, it will look after our school feeding program, it will look after everything that we need in the education sector. So let's have NACONEC as a standalone saga under the Ministry of Education. I think if we can get that one, then we'll say we have achieved what we wanted to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Let's appreciate Professor. He's been very brief, but very clear on that thematic area. Mheshimiwa Lekuton was trying to get information on his thematic area. I don't know if he's been able to do that. But yes, Mheshimiwa Karibu. Let's appreciate Mheshimiwa Lekuton as he is the last presenter. We've managed time well. I was given 20 minutes. I think I'm almost exhausting my time. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Memusi. We were tasked to deal with 3 sections of the environment. Number 1 was on community land. Second was on climate change and carbon credits. And the third was environmental protection. And on community land, the presentation was given by Mr. Kahemba. And he was pretty much talking about how community land needs to be registered and the challenges they're facing doing that. And some of the challenges that we face in the community include lack of concrete, concurrence between community and county on the unit of registration, county government submitting non-comprehensive inventory. 3 was negative ethnicity, which is a major issue, boundary disputes, insecurity, court cases by members of the community, and some overriding and competing interests where land has been reserved for other purposes. And an example was Lamu, where there's no community land, everything was public land. So that's a challenge. And one of the biggest challenges also, they don't have the resource to go through communities to help them. So, and apparently there's, I'm going to give you statistics later, on counties that have succeeded in registering their land, and I think there are 59 in total. I'll do that later. So those are the challenges being faced by the communities. We also did on carbon credits. We had NRT and other organizations that were there with us, and the main concern again was the distribution of resources, the carbon credits income, and how they should be distributed between all the interested parties. For example, they are giving a formula, and this is now based on NRT's formula. It says 60% community and 40% broker. So the question most of us are asking is, how does the broker get 40% of the carbon credits when he's already getting his negotiation with the parent company that is buying the carbon? So what they are saying is that the distribution of carbons are not clear. They need to do a strict and orderly distribution that the community knows they're getting. The government, the county government, and the rest of the players need to understand their rights in carbon. And so the benefit sharing was a big deal there. And also the fact that as much as the carbon per unit of a ton unit is between $5 and $80, apparently the African companies that are selling carbon cannot even pass $12 per ton. That's a big issue that needs to be addressed, and I think now with the new legislation we'll be able to do that. So those are some of the challenges, and that we need to register more individual and community land to be able to benefit. The other one was environmental protection, and we presented by Kefri. The plan was to get 15 billion trees, and so far they've done 695 million planted, and they think they're on course to achieve the 15 billion in the number of years we said. I think it's for 10 years, and that was Kefri. We also have an issue with pesticides, and the fact that in this day and age, with the climate change, there are bound to be issues of insects of being populated in our parts of Kenya, specifically the locust and some other upcoming insects that are made through climate change, change of weather and climate. And also, we had Dr. Chumo present on wildlife conservation, and we are asked, as much as possible, we should have many northern Kenya communities register their land as conservation for many reasons. First of all, is to conserve. I'm almost done. To conserve the issue of plants and forests as well as wildlife. So those are some of the things we discussed, and it looks like we did a good job for about 3 hours. And the biggest challenge now is the fact that we are told the issue we need to solve between the counties, communities, and the national government is the issue of land registration and the complaints that people have. So that's pretty much what we discussed. And if I can be able to tell you now, the percentage of, just to finish, oh, that. Hey, you mind? Yeah, percentage. Percentage of communities. Well, I can't find it here, but the presenter was telling us how each county is doing as far as land registration is concerned. Maybe I'll give it to you later and share with them. So thank you so much.
Let's appreciate Mheshimiwa Lekuton. Let's appreciate him. Now, that's about it with the 6 thematic areas. That's a recap of what transpired in the breakouts. But I want to just summarize it this way. First of all, I want to appreciate the PPG team and the FCDC as the organizers of this event, and of course our host county, Wajir. But I also want, and I hope the PPG Secretariat is listening to us, this being the 4th
PLS, this being the fourth PLS, going forward, it's very important when we go to the fifth one, it's important that we do a recap of the fourth PLS and what we've been able to achieve, so that we don't make this a talking workshop. And I want to appreciate all of you who gave me very good or positive feedback on the video that I've done. And on that video, I've emphasized on practicability. So I want to urge our team, especially PPG, Secretariat, that going forward, it's important that you capture everything that we've talked about here, so that in the next PLS, we are able to look at what did we say on the fourth PLS, what have we achieved, what have we not achieved. And lastly, our numbers here have been talked about. PPG as 102, some have said 103, some have said 106. I think we are 103. We are 103. We will also give you in the next PLS, which is the fifth PLS, as members of pastoralist areas, we will give you what we've pushed as an agenda in Parliament in terms of legislation. We will be able to report to you what we've been able to come together and push. So, Chair PPG, please make sure that our next PLS, we are able to come and tell our employers, because these are our employers, what we've been able to push in terms of legislation in Parliament. Because I've had here people asking us, how have you been using your numbers? With those very many remarks, I want to hand over this program back to our gracious lady, Madam Karibu. Tafadhali munipigie makofi. Asanteni.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mumisi. Thank you very much for facilitating or moderating that session. Thank you to all the speakers for bringing the voices from the conversations and the decisions that you arrived at. So we are getting to the next interesting session. But as I said earlier, what has been presented here is very critical in terms of the direction that we are taking as pastoralist communities. The conversations have pointed to policy, strategies, and practical related elements that we must be able to address. So can we give a round of applause to the facilitator, the moderator, and all the speakers, please? Can we give a round of applause? And to all of us because of that presentations. So, the next session, kindly let's be seated. Let's be seated and let's follow the conversation together. So the next session will be ushering the institution, our traditional institutions, our respectable elders from our communities. Wanasema mahali pana wazee hapaharibiki jambo, si kweli? Sasa ndio wakati wa kuwakaribisha wazee wetu, wazee wa hekima, wazee wenye busara, wazee ambao wanaweza tuambia kwamba kwa kiwango chao mahali wamefikia ni mambo yapi wameona, ni yapi wamefurahishwa nayo na ni yapi hawajafurahishwa nayo. As you are fully aware, Excellencies, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, this is the fourth summit. And it means we've had other 3 summits before. As institutions that are supporting the pastoralist communities, what has made it so difficult, what has been so progressive in terms of the implementation of the summit recommendations. We've just had other recommendations coming up here. And before we usher in, this next session, we are privileged to have the Wajir Boys High School, who will be entertaining us or giving us an entertainment just to warm ourselves up. So karibu sana, Wajir Boys. The floor is yours. You can take the floor. Karibuni. We'll have the brief introduction from Karibu.
The head of state, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Speaker of the National Assembly, our County Governor, Ahmed Abdullahi Mohammed, distinguished guests present here, ladies and gentlemen, we present here Sarluget, a Somali traditional cultural dance. It is often performed during social gatherings like wedding ceremonies and auspicious occasions like today. Enjoy.
Wajir Boys High School. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Wajir Boys as they make their way out of the stage. Asanteni sana kwa kutuburudisha. Asante sana kwa kupata nafasi ya kujiandaa kuweza kufanya tumbuizo hilo. Asanteni sana. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, honorable members, I would like to invite our Deputy Governor, Wajir County, His Excellency DG Ahmed Muhammad, kindly if you could make your way to the stage. He will be the one taking us through the session, supporting us, bringing or introducing the session that will be facilitated by Honorable Ole Kaparo. If you are in the room, sir, please you'll be able to come here and support in moderating the session. But I would like to hand it over to our DG for purposes of welcoming remarks and a few more as part of the program. So over to you, sir. Karibu sana.
So this is the final session.
Lakini sasa kwa sababu ya tujui president ataingia saa ngapi, we might want to bring some entertainment in. For now we want to maximize chance ya wao.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. And it's time for the elders. It's time for the people with the wealth of experience. But I hope and believe that you are staying in Wajir for the last 2 days. This being the third day was okay. We appreciate your attendance and you are coming to Wajir. So this session, this session is about making pastoralist institutions and pastoralist leadership summit resolutions impactful. That is the topic of this session. We have our panelist, and the moderator is none other than Honorable Francis Ole Kaparo. You will be the moderator. Okay. Our moderator will be Honorable Francis Ole Kaparo. Then we have our other leaders, and Hussein Malim, former MP and minister, and we have Mohamed Elmi, former MP and minister as well, Mheshimiwa Abdullahi Wako, we have Mheshimiwa Julius Sunkuli, is he around? Oh yeah, thanks. And then we have Mheshimiwa Alois Lentoimaga, I hope I pronounced it rightly. And then our Senator Franz Farhia Haji. We will have a presentation. It ought to have been David Athure, but in his absence. We will have Mheshimiwa. We have a presentation, and that presentation, in the absence of Honorable David Athure, can be done by Honorable Mohamed Elmi in his place, that presentation. I now hand over the moderation of the session to Honorable Francis Ole Kaparo to move forward. Thank you.
Naomba kuwasalimu, hamjambo? Muko salama lakini? Mnatusikiza ama? Mnatusikiza? Wale wanatusikiza wainue mkono, na wale ambao hawataki kutusikiza wainue mkono pia. Basi nawapongeza kwa sababu mumeamua kutusikiza. Mimi na wenzangu hapa na wale wako hapa Makelele, wewe bwana, nataka oda hapa. Oda. Toweni Makelele kule. Tafadhali, na hiyo ni amri. Mimi na wenzangu hapa, sijui kama nitumie Kiswahili ama Kiingereza. Kiswahili sio? Kiingereza? Well, let me try to do both. I and the colleagues out here began the thought of establishing a forum for the leadership in Parliament of people who look after livestock. wherever they were in Kenya. And we are here today, 30 years later, we have come here and we intended to talk to those in leadership of the political class in our region. Unfortunately, the bulk of the leadership of the pastoral people, either in parliament or in the counties, are not present now for obvious reasons. They have gone to receive His Excellency the President. For that reason, we seek from the PPG Secretariat and those who lead it to give us an opportunity in Nairobi or elsewhere to be able to talk to the leadership of the PLS, as it is now called. But why did we think about creating a forum for our leaders in parliament? First of all, we were not many. I am a little surprised to hear that you have 106 members of parliament. A very pleasant surprise. And I hope it is true. I hope it is true. Because sometimes people go to places just to add the numbers. Maybe some of them have ceased to be pastoralists 30 years ago or 40 years ago. But yet, we say we have that number. But that is a story for that occasion. For now, we created this organization for about 3 or 4 reasons. Number one, the most important of them all, was for the leadership of the pastoral people to know one another intimately. Tujuane kabisa kama viongozi ya wafugaji. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa sababu ya muhimu ya kwanza. Sababu ya pili, or second reason, was to give a united voice of the pastoral people speaking to those in authority. So we wanted a united voice. Tulikuwa wachache chini ya 30, lakini hawa walikuwa wengi kuliko mtu azungumze kivyake. So we wanted to create a united voice in support of the agenda of the pastoral people. And you may ask, why a united voice? Why for the pastoral people? And it was obvious, and still is obvious. There is no community, there is no other people engaged in some enterprise who are as behind as the pastoral people. And I don't think there is also a bigger economic bloc, much more important than the pastoral people. And so it was important, and still is important, to have a united voice and to have a clear agenda going forward. The third reason was to execute that agenda. And we did the best we can. You know, when we began this thing, it was not wanted by those in power. The executive didn't want it. We did it over their wishes. And we paid the political price for it. My brother here, Dr. Wako here, was Assistant Minister, I believe, for Health at that time. And he got dismissed at 1 o'clock for being the founding chairman of PPG. I was the speaker, and there wasn't much they could do about it, because I had the support of the members both in government and in the opposition. But beyond that, I was prepared to go home if necessary in pursuit of the interests of the people from whom I come from. And that should be clear for all of us. And that should be the agenda for all of us, wherever you are. And so 30 years later, here we are. First of all, we salute to those who are in position now. We salute you because you have not let the ship sink. It is there. The ship is there. Whether it is steady or not steady is a different ball game altogether. The most important thing is it is there. And there is nothing that is ever perfect. Some things, you have to correct them along the way. The only plea I have, not only to the leadership of PPG, but to the leadership of Kenya, wherever they are, or whoever they are, whatever position you hold, always, please, always tap into the knowledge you have. Don't forget what was in the pursuit of what will be. So haya tutakuja kuzungumzia hawa viongozi wetu Nairobi wakikubali. Lakini mtakubali? Hamuogopi? Hamuogopi kuelezwa? Haya, sawa. Basi ndaita wenzangu hapa. Lakini wale wako mashinani, ndugu zangu wafugaji, msije tukajisarau kwa sababu tuko na umuhimu mwingi. Kuna mambo ambayo inafanyika tu kwa sababu yetu. Kenya wanapenda nyama choma. Nyama iko mikononi mwetu. Si ni kitu la muhimu hilo? La pili, Kenya inapenda pesa inayotoka kwa utalii. We love the proceeds of tourism. And it's probably the second or third foreign exchange earner in this country. Hawa wanyama pori wako kwa nani? Wako kwa nani? Si iko kwetu? Ziko kwetu. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni contribution yetu kubwa kwa economy ya nchi hii, mifugo na utalii. La tatu la muhimu, ardhi yetu ni kubwa kuliko sehemu zingine za Kenya, hata ukiunganisha mara mbili. Ardhi. Na wale wanazaa haraka kutushinda sisi watajaa kule ambayo kunanyesha sana. Sisi tuko na spare. Watakuja kuzungumzia vizuri. Lakini hata ingawa hivyo, naomba wale wanaotekeleza mambo hayo wahakikishe we don't spoil our land by demarcating and subdividing into very uneconomical portions. Hamna faida kubadilisha rangeland into plots ambayo mfugo hawawezi kuishi kule, wanyama pori hawawezi, wenyewe watakosa pali pa kwenda. Let's be careful about an economic subdivision of our land. Nafikiri hapo nimemaliza mimi. Na kama kuna mahali nimebakisha, hawa marafiki yangu, wewe ta relax. Tawaita kulingana na umri. Ya utapresent, lakini washa kwanza ni introduce wale wazee tulikuwa nao. Unajua wakati huo wewe ulikuwa primary pengine. Huyo bwana huyu bwana Maalim Mohamed Hussein, huyu alikuwa waziri. Mimi nilipoingia bunge nilikuwa kijana wakati huo, msifikiri nilizaliwa nikiwa mzee. Na hata yeye alikuwa kijana wakati ule. Sasa tumezeeka, lakini sio mbaya, hata nyinyi mngetaka kuzeeka. Lakini huyu bwana akiwa waziri, tulipotengeneza hii PPG na rais hakutaka, yeye akiwa waziri he rebelled, akatujoin. Alikuwa tayari kufutwa kwa sababu aliona kitu ya muhimu. Na ndio nafurahi kumwona leo amekuja hapa 30 years later kuungana nami na wenzetu kuambieni nyinyi hii kitu iko na maana. Na hii kitu iko na maana, na tutaweka maana ingine zaidi. Nitaeleza maana hiyo ni gani baadaye. Haya, kuja bwana Dr. wako. Dr. Abdullahi wako ndio alianzisha hii kitu kama mwenyekiti wa kwanza, mimi nikiwa patron wa kwanza. Sasa kama mnataka kujua PPG ilikuwa akina nani, angalieni sisi vyema. Sisi ndio tulizaa. Hii tulizaa sisi na tukarithi kwenu. Pokeeni na mshunge. Huyo bwana akiwa mwenyekiti, Mzee Boy hakutaka hii kitu. Alienda akaambiwa hii Pastoralist Parliamentary Group ni kujifanya inaitwa Kenya Patriotic Front, wale wanataka kupindua serikali yako. Msije mkafikiri waongo walianza leo, wamekuweko. So huyu bwana alivutwa saa 7 kutoka assistant minister and many others huyu atawaelezeni. Lakini alipovutwa hakustuka, hakutoka na hatukumwasha. Sisi tuliregea, tukafanya bidii, akaregeshwa.
Thank you.
Haya, mwisho bwana Sunguli. Ambassador Julius Sunguli. Ambassador Julius Sunguli ni mbunge wa Kilgoris kule Narok. Na ndio niliwaeleza jana tukizungumza mambo ya wafugaji, they are not in the north alone, hata south wako na ni wetu. Na walikuweko na watakuweko. Huyu final alikuja kuwa Minister of State in the office of the President. Ndio huyu. Karibu. Mwisho. Nani? Wewe ndio nakujua sasa. Na huyu bwana mnajua alikuwa Minister of Northern Kenya. Na mimi nilimuashia madaraka yangu kwa organization nyingine ya maana kwa watu ya Northern Kenya, inaitwa the Northern Rangeland Trust, ambayo nilianzisha. Na wakati nilipostaafu baada ya miaka 9 nilimwashia huyu bwana na akashunga vyema. Kwa hivyo sisi ni washungaji vizuri. Sasa nairegesha kwako bwana. Sisi nimemaliza. Come here man. Wewe kuja introduce. Yeah. Na huyu
nilikuwa Secretary General ya PPG Women Caucus.
Haya, huyu Senator Farhia, last session of parliament alikuwa Secretary General wa PPG Women Caucus. Wa Women Caucus. Yes. Basi sawa. Si nimemaliza? Basi, shukrani. Karibu bwana.
Asante Emeritus Kaparo. Yangu ilikuwa Ekwe Edhuro ndio alikuwa anatakana kuintroduce hii, amenitumia points kidogo. na kusema madhumuni ya hii session. So I'm just going to say the points. He's on his way coming. Basically, it is, as the speaker said, they started PPG. It has been going on. Now, I'll give a bit of the history and the objective of this session. And because majority of the leaders are not in, he has already asked and they have promised that we'll have a closed door in Nairobi. So, Dr. Wako, as the first chair, is going to give you the history. He says, pastoralists have held all positions in Kenya, except the president and the deputy. He says, okay, but not, he was against them. Let's continue. I'm just reading what Ekwe said. So, when devolution came, we said Parliament is not the only leadership. And therefore, we held the first Pastoralist Leadership Forum in Narok, where a number conflict, devolution, and the failure to implement existing community declaration was the main thing that was discussed. And then we went to the PLS, second one, to Isiolo, where a whole host of things were discussed. And therefore we formed it. And I want just to say, who are this leadership? I think majority people do not know. Once the devolution came, we had governors, we have deputies, we have speakers, we have a majority leader and minority leader. Together they form the Pastoralist Leadership Forum, which was later on changed to Summit. And then we had it in Garissa. So today, this session, unlike the other ones, was to ask each other, how can we make the Pastoralist Leadership Summits more effective? The resolutions we make, how do we make sure they are implemented? And therefore, we are looking for suggestions of how to make effective all these institutions, Parliament, the Governor's Council, because there are 15 counties, very powerful group, speakers, very powerful group. All these people, how do we make them effective? So what we will do, we'll have the first chair and the first members to tell us, and Honorable Saikuli. So I want the first chair first to give a bit of the challenges, then we'll come back to Sir Malim, and then Sankuli, and then Farhia. And they will give suggestions on how, what it was and how to make it more effective. And as we said, the members of the pastoralists who are different professions, we want you to send in some of your suggestions so that in the next meeting, we are able to make sure those things are followed. Thank you very much.
Waziri, thank you so much. Habari zenu. Salamu alaikum. Basi kwa majina mimi naitwa Mheshimiwa Dr. Wako, ni mzee kutoka Isiolo. It is 30 years ago, in 1994, wakati tulianza Pastoralist Parliamentary Group. Now, we had 5 focus. The first is peace and security, peace and unity. Because there was a lot of war. It is not even, we can't call it cattle wrestling. At that particular time, it is a real war between the pastoralists. And the biggest problem is that all the MPs, when the opposite people attack their group, they want to fight in Parliament. So we said, no, this can't actually happen because the leaders are not the ones who are doing this. The second thing which we wanted is the unity of the pastoralists. Then we actually was focusing on the education. Also, it is a norm, and it is actually something which is always there with the pastoralists, that they are marginalized. So we said, how do we move from marginalization to development? And publicity is another problem. At that particular time, we say that if somebody falls from the tree in Kiambu, it will be reported, but if 10 people die in Garissa, or it happens in Mandera, or it happens in Isiolo, there's no publicity. So we said, how do we tackle that? Also, we said, how do we have political power? And political power is nothing else but numbers. At that particular time, like the Speaker Kabaro has said, people were fearing the government of the day, and they really didn't want to join. But we were almost only 22 MPs who started Pastoralist Parliamentary Group as like-minded. And then the first assignment was, actually there was a big problem between the Aduran and the Dogodia in Wajir, this town. So 22 MPs, we came here to this town. We took the whole day to listen to the people. We went back and talked, and we said all the problem here is nothing but representation. And we said that because the Ajuran think that this town belongs to them, and the history it was theirs, because they inherited from the Borans, if you know the history, by bringing in the Dogodia, who became the majority later. So they are actually trying to fight. And we said the best is let's get representation for the Ajurans. And after here, we went and presented to Moi, His Excellency, and he said, is that the only problem? We told him yes. And that is how Wajir North was created purely for Ajuran, and actually to bring peace in this area. The second thing is we wanted to make awareness of the peace effort which we want to do. And we actually started our first meeting in Garissa for Pastoralist Parliamentary Group, and the theme was Peace for Pastoralists. And the NGO we used is called Kenya Pastoralist Forum. It was by a guy from Isiolo called Abdi Omar. Actually, we sourced money for the NGO. After the Garissa meeting, Abdi Omar was put in. And like the speaker have said, they changed to say that, oh, this is Kenya frontier. That is how it was coined. So now, the NGOs were fearing to sponsor us. So actually what I did is I had an American friend, and I talked to him. We were to go to America to actually raise funds for the pastoralist cause. Unfortunately, when even OP has cleared me to go to America and I got the visa, 2 days to the flight, actually the government canceled my trip, and it was the headline. And nothing else but because they think that we are going to get funds for the pastoralists. That is all. That was my second casualty, or the third casualty we have had. But that does not deter us. The good thing is that we actually had a sponsor from Britain, from UK, okay, Minority International Group, which actually sponsored us for the rest of the time. And today, I think there is quite a number of resources in our counties which can make things much easier and much better for all of us if we have the will. I was in Group 1 yesterday on peace, and it was clear that for the last 6 months, there is relative peace in the pastoral area. What does it amount to? If we have peace, then we must have unity and we must have development. Okay. We must have peace, we must have development. And my suggestion, because Speaker is saying that time is up, my suggestions are only 4 or 5. The first is, in that group, there was the Deputy Governor of Pokot and there was a Deputy Governor of Turkana. And they were saying that they all have even the money, they have a group to make peace, but because of the problem of enmity between them, they are not able to communicate. And using politicians, it will be very difficult. That is why I'm suggesting that we have from the eminent elders, which we have, a panel of wise or a panel of elders, so that they can broker peace in all those areas. More used us, more used Kaparo and Honorable Haji for that purpose. So my first suggestion is that. The second suggestion, we have been talking about Livestock Marketing Board all our life, and we must make sure that we get this one. With 1 or 3 MPs, we should be able to get this one going. Yesterday, I think I was one of the happy person, but I'm also sad. Because when David Indi, the economic advisor of the president or the chair of the economic advisors, says that by developing the pastoral area is the only way we can develop the country. But what he has not mentioned, and what needs to be mentioned, is that all the resource of this country needs comes from the pastoral area. If you look at Mandera, Mandera has the biggest deposit of gas, bigger than Qatar, which actually makes the Qatar very rich because of that alone. We have all the gold, which actually starts from Ethiopia, all the way up to Garissa, up to Mandera. And we have all the other minerals in this country, which is better and far much useful than what we actually associate minerals with Congo. We are better in pastoral area. And lastly, I want to say that my PS used to tell me or to tell us that nobody gives you space in this country. You have to look for your space. And 2 things I want to leave you for space, looking for space. First, it should be a target for the county government of pastoralist areas to have investment conference before June 2026. Because after June 2026, it will be politics. Therefore, for development, we should have investors conference in all the pastoralist areas. Lastly, we try to have a political power or political party, but today we have one in Northeastern. We are requesting all of you, for the sake of unity, to be in UDM. Thank you.
Unajua karibu afanye nirudie ile kazi yangu ya zamani. Lakini kwa sababu amesikiza sitarudia. Mzee rafiki yangu Hussein Alim.
Bismillah. Alhamdulillah wa thanau lillah wa sallallahu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Order. I remembered Honorable Kabaro used to say order, order, and he used to say relax. When you know the like of Farah, he agitated. He said relax, relax. Now I want you to relax. We were put together, you see, this group, because of history. We don't belong to the current, we belong to the history. I think Speaker Kabaro mentioned how we started parliamentary group. When this thing was started, I was minister in the office of the president, now what do you call Minister for Internal Security. You can remember, those of you who were there those days, you know the type of president we used to have. It was a very strong man, very tall, very aggressive. When he heard about it, you know, the special branch wrote the report and told him that these people, they are starting another front of Mwakenya. It used to be a Mwakenya, which was run by people from Central Province. Now he was told the Pastoralist group have started a group called Pastoralist group, and the aim is to overthrow the government. Then when we came back from the conference, I sought an appointment with the president very early in the morning. He normally used to give appointment very early in the morning, 7 o'clock. And when I came, I found him standing in front of his office. Very strong man. You know, when he shook your hands, you will really feel him. So he asked me, Malim, what is happening about this pastoralist thing? Nikamwambia, is about Gombe. Is it? Gombe peke yake? Nikamwambia, yes, there's nothing more than Gombe. Bas. He cooled down, then we continue from there. That's history. Yesterday, we were supposed to be given a good time, but unfortunately, we were given this time when everybody is anxious, waiting for the president. And I think nobody wants to listen to us at this time. I think this is the reality. Nobody wants to listen to us this time. Everybody is waiting for the president. But I want to share with you 1 or 2 points. This country had a long history of a problem. That problem is corruption. It has been there for a very long time. It was not started by Ruto. It was not started by Uhuru. It was not started by Moi, by Kibaki. It started a long time ago when Jomo Kenyatta was the president. I worked with Jomo Kenyatta government because I was a councillor from 1974 up to 1979. So I know about Jomo Kenyatta government because I was a grown-up man at that time. The problem in this country is corruption. And I talked this corruption long time ago, some 35 years ago. In 1993, when I was Minister of State, I talked about corruption. Honorable Kabaro was not on the chair at that time. The late Bunaya Godana was on the chair. It was a morning session, Wednesday. I talked about the corruption, and I mentioned the corruption of Kenya have gone up to 45%. The speaker then, Honorable Godana, almost fell from the seat because he knew how serious that allegation I was making was. And that time, the parliament was connected to State House. The TV, when you talk, State House sees what is happening. Then I talked about the corruption. Then I went for lunch. Then when the parliament was adjourned at around 12:30, I went for lunch. When I came back from lunch, I went back to my office. I found a letter on my table saying, I want to congratulate you for the good service you have rendered to this office. You have now been transferred to the Ministry of Culture and Social Service. From the 11th floor of Harambee House, the third most powerful man demoted from Minister of State, Internal Security, to Minister for Culture and Social Service. You can understand. So I took it easy, and it went like that. Now, is the corruption finished now? Or in your new system, in your new government? Is it there or it's finished? Yeah? It's worse. That time, there were no money because the MPs were clean at that time. Farah was there, Abdullahi Walker was there, Kabaro was there. MP didn't know about money. Our salary was how much? About 30,000, 10,000. We didn't know about, we didn't have CDF. We didn't know about contract. We were not controlling anything. At that time, Parliament was clean. Clean from corruption. We were not involved. The executive was there. Now, we got something called devolution. One of the pioneer of the devolution is there. Senator Roba is there. I can see him. Let me share with you a story. When Garissa didn't have water at all, I was transferred from Ministry of Culture and Social Service to Ministry of Water. I thought I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to provide water for Garissa. When I went to the ministry, I called the BS, I called the chief accountant, everybody, and I asked them, how much money is there for Garissa for water development? I was told, Mheshimiwa, we have only 5 million for the governor. Keep it up, good work. You have made a good work.